Grace and peace and welcome to The Wise Perspective. I'm your host, Jen, The Wise, but you could just call me Wise. Welcome in, peeps. I hope everybody's feeling blessed, of course. I want to thank you right off the gate for being present because, as I always say, enlightenment can only happen when you show up. And you're not showing up for me. You're showing up for you because you're taking the time to expand your mind, to reflect on who you are and who you're becoming so that you can step into your highest timeline, your best self. So thank you for doing that because yes, that is considered a service to the world. Now, speaking on that, it helps me go right into what my channel topic is today. So I was coming out of my meditation, and what came up for me was the issues we are having now with the current generation, the path that Gen Alpha and Gen Beta are on. Because I've been hearing a lot about the destruction of our youth, like what's really going on. It started off with me reading an article that was talking about schooling amongst this younger generation and their behavior, more so how they are considered out of control youth. The teachers can't control them, the parents have no control. We are in that YN era, which apparently is a thing, and it's just pretty much a generation where they're very just do type of energy. They don't think ahead of time. They don't think about consequences of their actions. It's literally just, I think it, I feel it, I do it. And that is a very dangerous aspect of a human being, a human mind, let alone a young one, because that reactionative thought pattern when you are young is not based on anything of substance. And because you don't think of consequences, you're more likely to put yourself in positions where you can't get out of them once you're in. And that's where we are. So as I was reflecting on receiving this information, it got me thinking of where things went wrong. And obviously, since I am a millennial, I'm considered, I think, a Gen Y because I'm born in the 80s. I pretty much would be a product of second year boomer because my mother would be considered a baby boomer. And I really wanted to look back at where things started to take a turn because obviously we've arrived to this place with our youth and something triggered it. It wasn't as if it was just, oh no, it's their time to just be reckless and loose. No, something happened in the rearing process. So this is what I'm going to be channeling into for this podcast episode. So I know this is about to reach a lot of people in a very emotional place because we need to really figure out what we got to do to fix it. And I think I got the idea of what was coming on about this. So as I was stating, I am a product of a boomer, right? The boomers were born, I believe, boomers were between 46 to like 1965. Like that's the age frame, right? And the boomers were a product of the matures, or what they call the silent generation. Now, the silent generation had the mentality of work hard, middle class everything, build. And so they did. They built so that the boomers could inherit. Now, when the boomers came into play, their motto was more so forever young. And they were living in a way that allowed them to search for the meaning of life, especially since the stability was built through the silent generation. They were looking for individuality, so they wanted to stand out in any way possible. That's what they were hunting for. That's what they were making sure to display about themselves. With the boomers, they created a lot of children at the time. They have too much stuff to do besides make babies at the time. So the children that they made, because the boomers were so stuck on individuality, it created the generation of the Xers, or Gen X. They became the hyper-independent generation. It was you're on your own kid type mental for them. They had to learn how to be in survival mode because the boomers had taken so much advantage of what the matures or the silent generation had left behind. They didn't build. So a lot of the Gen Xers were forced to grow up quickly. They were forced to become very self-reliant, very independent. Even some of them would become even cynical slackers and stuck in stagnation because they were so self-reliant that it either was overwhelming or you just became hyper fixated on getting yourself together so you could create a balanced life. Now, we go a little further into the millennials, which is what Gen Y, that's my generation, because I really would say I'm between the two. My older brother's 10 years older than me, so he would be considered a Gen X. Me, because I was raised amongst my older brother, older cousins, even though I'm a millennial, I am literally in between the two. I would be considered a millennial Xer. But if you look at my age demographic, I'm falling in the millennials. Now, millennials had more of the mindset of you only live once. And the reason is because when the millennials started to come into themselves, this was when the boom of the internet really took place between the Gen Xers and the millennials. Now, if you look at what happened with the internet boom, this is where things really started to go awry because, of course, in the beginning we had the AOL, we had the MySpace. It quickly took off, and everyone now started to look at the creating a name for themselves aspect, like not wanting to be left behind with that huge internet shift. So we had the boomers jumping into it because they wanted to make sure they stayed relevant. We had the Xers trying to figure out how to navigate it all so that they now knew how to take advantage of what was happening. And the millennials coming into themselves because now this is what life is about to be. So depending on what generation you came from, you fell into one of these slots. None of them were great. And the reason is because every single person who fell under the reign of the internet boom were no longer fully living for themselves. They were living for the facade. The internet boom was teaching people how to showcase being something without having to actually be it. Of course, many were at first showcasing who they were and their accomplishments and how they became it. After a while, people understood that you didn't necessarily have to do the work to become it. You could just show that you became it and wear that as a badge of honor. And now who's going to tell you that that's not you, right? Who's going to stop you? So we had a lot of that where it went from such a cool and unique way to show who you are to such a cool and unique way to tell people you are this even though you aren't it. But hey, who's going to know? The ones who are going to know is the generation that came after, and these are the centennials. So this would be, I believe, the Gen Zs. Right now, who are the Gen Zs? That would be my oldest child, and they right now would be the ones who are about 20, in their early 20s, mid 20s. These are the Gen Zs. They took a huge hit, as well as the millennials, because of what happened with the boomers and the Xers. The children who were produced by those two generations were now not being fully raised and reared. We had a lot of people who were creating the facade as if they were doing the work of parenting, of guiding their children, but really they were focused on creating a name for themselves to put out into the world. And this is what the world was saying needed to be done. This is how you stay relevant. This is how you stay important. This is how you make a name for yourself. And everyone followed suit. No one asked any questions, and we didn't think about what was going to come from it. A lot of the Xers, who were not completely reared by their parents, who went through that whole needing to create a role for themselves in the world, and then had children because they were still in slight boomer mode, because everything they learned from the boomers, that's exactly what they pushed out. They still were pumping out babies too. They weren't raising them. They were leaving these babies who were coming out as millennials and centennials to the boomers to raise, who are now too old to fully invest the time into raising children after they've already done their job of doing so, or at least perceived done the job. So all of the children that were being created during generation millennial, generation centennial. So we're talking about anyone between 85, 89, all the way to about 1997. They were in their fend for their self era. They were trying to figure life out. I may have even gotten the time frame wrong because I'm seeing different numbers in my mind's eye. I'm seeing 1979 or 1980s to 1998. I don't know. Yeah, those are the numbers that are coming to me. So, yeah, maybe look that up. I think I said 80s to 98. Yeah. This generation were left to fend for themselves. Confirmation. It was a do you boo boo type of mindset that was pushed on them. Figure it out. Yo, look, I made it. You can make it. It was, and that's very harsh for a child. That era left a lot of them cold and emotionless. A lot of them were spiritually numb, and it was because they weren't handled with care at all. It was, children are durable and everybody makes it, and my life wasn't hard, wasn't easy, so you'll figure it out, and everybody does type of business. And it was skipping all of the important pouring that comes from rearing a child. Now fast forward to our Gen Alphas and the upcoming betas. These are the babies that are coming from the emotionless era, and the ones who were not handled with care, who were not given the nurture that they needed to become who they were becoming. They didn't fully step into it. They created the facade of it. And now you have these babies who need you to now pour into them information that you don't have because nobody poured it into you. So you're just now, oh, babies are cute, and they have absolutely nothing to live on. And we're wondering why we've now reached a point in our existence where the children have no guidance and they don't want to take any. We've allowed the children to now begin to raise themselves, and this has been for maybe about 2 generations of it. So they're looking like, we don't have to listen to y'all because y'all can't get it together. We'll figure it out for ourselves. And even the figuring out for yourselves, what are you going to figure out if you don't even have anything to base it on? Now, this is the era of creativity, and we're missing so much. Between Gen X and the millennials, that was the era of moral code that was supposed to trickle down. It didn't. And now we're in the era of creativity and authenticity with no moral code. So the gap needs to be bridged between having morals and being authentic And the two things don't touch because in between the generations did not give those two things up. Whew, this is a serious channel, you guys. Now, I'm being guided to go into what's the solution? Where do we solve the problem? And I apologize if you guys can hear this dog. I'm, my noise canceling mic. Let's hope it's getting most of it out, but I can't shut this dog up. It's not even in my house. I have no idea whose dog this is. But dog spelled backward is God, so listen to God talk. Now, the solution to this issue comes from the generation that is between the millennials and the Xers who are on this healing path. I'll say it again. It is the millennials and the Xers on this healing path that are going to have to figure out how to help and heal the Gen Alphas, the Gen Betas, and cultivate the Centennials, which is the Gen Xers, into their adulthood. It's going to take a lot from us. A lot. When I say it is the healing bunch, it is the ones who couldn't quite get with the social media aspect because they didn't feel as if it was real to them. It is the ones who understood that there was so much more to life than what was being pushed. And they're starting to see this now. They're starting to understand it now and open up to it now. These are the ones who are going to help guide the Gen Alphas. So no, it is not your responsibility only to raise your own children and say, well, that's none of my business. Because let's be real. If your child has to interact with other children from their generation, they are in danger. And they're only in danger because we live in a world of influence. It is easy to influence a child when you are one as well. We have this thing in human nature where majority rules. When you see most people doing one thing, you kind of want to fall into suit because it shows that one thing is the thing. It's hard to be an individual when the world pushes that individuality does not get rewarded fully. They want authenticity, but it's only authenticity that can be framed in a way that allows someone to capitalize off of it. Being just truly authentic is not rewarded. So, you're not a parent to just your child. You're a parent to each and every child in the generation. And it's the only way to fully correct it. When we were younger, I will say, now that I'm thinking back, when I was growing up, I do remember that there was more of a mindset of a village raising a child. You didn't see a child skip school and other adults seen it and knew that child's mother and didn't say nothing. It was something was said. Why you not in school? Asking questions. Isn't that so-and-so child? And they'd be, oh, well, I seen your baby the other day. I thought they were supposed to be in school, but I guess not. Something was said to help make sure that they were on the right path. And it wasn't said out of maliciousness. It was said out of concern because of the rearing. We're missing this now. We now see what's going on and they say nothing. I can't tell you how many people I've seen walk past other people's children knowing that they're supposed to be in school, bringing a friend to their parents' apartment, and the neighbor know, and they're not going to say nothing because it's none of their business. Back in the day, it was everybody's business. And where that may have felt like a detriment to the child because they couldn't get away with nothing, it kept them safe. This is another common misconception, is that people don't want to say anything to the youth because they feel like that's not what they want. It's not. It's what they need. We're not here to give them what they want. Confirmation, we're here to give them what they need. And this is what's missing in the world right now. I sit with my alphas, my Gen Alphas friends. When I take her to the park, I tell her to invite a couple of friends. I want to know who you're friends with. I taught my babies how to screen because I not only have a Gen Z, I also have a Gen Alpha. I taught them how to screen friendships because we're in kindergarten. They're taught everybody's your friend, even little Trayvon who put gum in your hair and pushed you out your seat. That's your friend. Hug your friend and say you sorry. No. If you're being mistreated, that is not your friend. You need to get away from them immediately. Just because we in the same class don't mean we friends. Just because I knew you since kindergarten don't mean we friends. And it's not something I'm going to allow them to continue to grow into. But many of the other children are. They don't know the difference. And then they wonder why they grow up and they get friends who mistreat them, who disrespect them, and they keep them in their life because I've known this person forever. Or because I don't really know what a good friend is because I never had one. Or my friends pushed me out the seat when I was in kindergarten. Or my friends, put gum in my hair. I've been disrespecting my friends since day one. So I always thought this is just what friends do. No, it's not. And it takes for them to be taught that that's not what it is. Someone has to teach it. That's the biggest thing, is someone needs to teach it and they're not being taught. And this is why the generations are so lost. Television has been raising our children. I also remember my childhood, we had reality TV shows where they talked about people's behaviors and relationship aspects. And I mean from a real standpoint. I remember people standing up in the audience being like, if you knew he was with your sister, then why would you sleep with him? And everybody started clapping and stuff. And I'd be like, yeah, why would you do that? I loved that type of reality TV as a child. And it was removed. I'm talking the Ricky Lakes. Yes, like the good stuff. And they replaced it with entertainment reality television. Things like Jerry Springer, because people wanted to see drama. That got more ratings. They replaced it with Maury, where in the beginning, Maury was great. It was wholesome. I used to like Maury and then couldn't stand Jerry Springer. Then Maury started creating these contracts with people where they'd have them come up there to do these paternity tests, and they weren't real. They were for the ratings. And they wanted to see the drama. They wanted to see the cameraman running after them while they run in the back and throw themselves on the floor. I had no idea. People were selling who they were for the sake of the almighty dollar. And we were calling it reality television. So now, fast forward, we call reality television watching celebrities with scripted identities and doing these things. Watching people go on shows like Temptation Island with their partner to see if they'll be tempted. You risking everything to see if what? Why is that a thing? But this is where we are, and we wonder why the generations are so confused. They don't know what to follow. They don't know where to go. They don't got nobody giving them the guidance. They're lost. And the only thing that can help a lost person is for someone to find them. Someone they can trust. Someone that can show them what truth really is and how to live in it. And this is where we are. So the question that I'm going to pose, since I'm at 23 minutes in this video, the question I'm going to pose is, what is your role in this? Who are you? Are you one with the profile who has learned how to make it look good? Not live it, make it look good. And you enjoy that, you're going to ride that out until the end of days? Or are you one who needs to stand up because you see what's going on? You know how doing nothing has led us to the areas that we are. And you're ready to do a little something, whether it's volunteer work, whether it's speaking to the youth that are within your proximity, something. Are you ready? Because the world needs you. The world needs us. Personally, I am doing my part. And I will definitely say, I'm passionate about young girls because I was one of the first generations of being left to my own devices. And I made it through because I recognized what I didn't want to be. And I was able to say, this can't be life. So I became something different. I questioned everything. I knew none of it made sense. I'm going to question it until it makes sense. And I was able to make it out. And since I was able to teach myself how to become a woman from doing this selection aspect of myself, I give back by making sure that I help other young girls do the same. I give them a safe space to be able to question who they're becoming. And I do this twice a week. Volunteer work for my young girls. So what is your part? What can you do? How can you elevate? If you have children of your own, how can you step into your role a little heavier? Maybe take the role of being a parent so seriously that you now bring their friends in. I want to know who your friends are. I want to know why this is your friend. I want to know what y'all do when y'all just together. And not to be nosy, to be updated. Because a lot of us don't know our children. Not us, me, us, everyone else. But a lot of us don't know our children. We living alongside them, but y'all got separate lives. That ain't it. All right, if you would like to schedule a consultation, we can have this conversation 100%. When it comes to parenting, I will say I'm solid. I feel very secure in my parenting style. I've already done it once. I got a 21-year-old who's living life, living it happily. And it's because I dedicated so much time. And then I got the second one who's about to do the same. So if you want to talk about parenting, we can definitely go ahead and do that. And any of the other topics that are up here on the screen, because I'll put up the QR code so you can go ahead and schedule a booking. Yeah. And let's just get this going. Let's start the path. Let's start a new way of living. All right. I'm going to leave this one right here. I thank you so much for being present and for listening to this podcast specifically. I think this one is one that's going to change the game. This is necessary. So, love and light and peace.